Hey Fondant fam, it's Gigi from Flirted Treats and Sweets. Today we're making a bright bold orange fondant bow, a topper that adds instant personality to any cake or cupcake. Bows are one of my favorite go-to decorations because they're simple, versatile, and always gives your design that polished, professional look without taking all day. In this tutorial, I'll show you step by step how to roll, cut, shape, and finish your bow so it looks clean and luxe every single time. Grab your fondant and let's jump right in. I'm going to be working with orange fondant for this particular bow. Orange is one of my favorite colors. Now make certain you lightly dust the surface of your cornstarch and your work surface. This will help keep it from sticking. Then you want to make sure you roll it out evenly. You want a smooth, consistent thickness so your bow looks polished. Now, once I feel like I've rolled my fondant into the thickness I want, I do at times pick it up and turn it around so that I can make sure I roll it even on all sides so that that thickness is consistent. I am using a textured roller to make my bow look more realistic. It gives it like a fabric consistency. I am using a fondant cutter or a pizza roller, and I'm using a clear ruler. That ruler is actually 1.5 inches wide. So that is going to make the piece for both ends of my bow. I'm going to make the loop out of this entire piece. Again, sweeping off or dusting off any additional cornstarch that's on my bow. I fold it in half to find my center. And then once I've done that, I kind of gather it up in the middle, almost like a W pattern. When my fondant is super fresh, I find that I don't necessarily need to use any water or edible glue. I am going to repeat that pleating or W pattern on both ends of my bow. I'm going to add a little water because my fondant is drying out a little bit as I work with it. So repeat that on this end. Add a little bit more water or edible glue, whichever one you prefer. I do pat the middle down so that it's not sitting up too high and to make sure that middle adheres. Cut off any extra fondant that's not needed. That's going to make your fondant bow bulky. And we're going to bring each loop to the middle, add a little bit of water or edible glue. I consider this my back, so I flip it over because I just think this side is cleaner, but you pick whichever side is cleanest. Make sure you press down that middle really good. Again, you don't want that to be thick and sitting up. I'm using a piece of remnant fondant to make the middle of my bow. Again, rolling it out to a fairly thin consistency because I want it to be able to gather up in the middle. And you can see how thin this piece is compared to how thin or thick I rolled the actual bow. And again, I use that same pleating method to get it to come together in the in that pleated look. It makes it look more realistic, more 4D, you know. I added a little water to the entire piece. I set my bow loops on top and I wrapped it around. Now as you make your bow, make sure your loops are not collapsing. Now here I'm going to cut tails. Now the tails were about 1.25 inches wide. I like to make the tails like a little bit smaller than the actual bow loops. I don't know why. It's an aesthetic thing for me. And I cut my tail ends on an angle. You can either do an angle, you can leave them straight, you can do the little V cut. The sky's the limit. Again, to just doing that same W gathering pattern to bring our tails, to make our tails come together. Again, make sure you press down on that fondant tip. You don't want it to be thick and sitting up. And what it'll do as you press down on it, it'll give you some space to attach it to the bow. You are going to add a little water or edible glue to the tails and then place that bow right on top. Kind of press into the middle a little bit to make sure it's all stuck together. Now, if need be, go in and add any additional details that you may have lost or that you just want to add to your bow. If needed, you can always support the bow with a rolled up piece of paper towel until it dries. It should dry about 4 to 6 hours on your countertop. I want to say thank you for hanging out with me, Fondant fam. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss the next sweet tutorial. Until next time, stay frosted.